Well, for more on Muhammad Ali's life and legacy, I'm joined by Mark Gray. He's a sports show talk host, reporter, and executive producer for Heritage Sports Radio. Welcome back, Mark.
Good to be here.
Now, Mark, Ali was one of the most recognizable athletes, and he was also considered a brand and a cultural icon. How was he able to do that when some of his counterparts just weren't able to?
First off, he was a phenomenal athlete, which drew him into media coverage. You have to really thank a reporter like Howard Cosell, where they had a uncanny media synergy where their interaction became as big as any of his events. And then you start talking about the personality, a really galvanizing soul. So you put all those ingredients together and you get the man that becomes more than just a phenomenal athlete, a global icon, and just a tremendous humanitarian.
Now, with that being said, at his time, it wasn't uncommon for boxers back then to end up broke, unfortunately, like Joe Frazier, and then also lessons learned from Mike Tyson, Evander Holyfield. How did Ali change the way that boxers manage their earnings and their brand?
That was one of the things that happened by way of his relationship with the Nation of Islam. There's a gentleman, as I recall, by the name of Wallace D. Muhammad, who kind of was the business liaison, so to speak, if you will, between the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, who was the leader of the Nation of Islam, or the Black Muslim movement. But Wallace D. Muhammad was kind of like the caretaker or the protector, and he boldly proclaimed that all the heavyweight champions that came before Muhammad Ali went broke. That wasn't going to happen to this particular champion, because he meant so much to them as an icon and as a brand, and it kind of trickled down to where they were very protective about the investments. He was very shrewd in terms of what he did. I mean, aside for the fact that he did like ladies, I don't think that he was the kind of guy that really spent frivolously. You wouldn't see him with 7 or 8 cars like you would see a Floyd Mayweather these days.
Now, Mark, he was shrewd, but he was also someone who believed in giving a lot, very generous, gave to multiple organizations. Give us an idea of the charitable impact that he leaves behind.
Oh, my goodness. You hit the nail on the head with the Cuban thing. And, you know, the charity thing, and if he had, he would give it to you. So there were, you know, UNICEF relief efforts and things like that. I think that, you know, there was a spirit about him where Ali had a innate sense of understanding what the circumstances was from a, for lack of a better term, spiritual perspective. He had an innate sense and knew what he could do, and also had the intellect to pull it off. It's an amazing confluence of personality aspects that really made the man. I mean, just the way that he used to handle things from a visceral perspective, so to speak.
Now, Mark, one thing I want to quickly touch on is his reach into China. At the time when he visited in 1979, boxing had been banned for 20 years because of what was considered its brutal nature. How did that cultural connection change things?
Something as simple as shadow boxing when he first got to China. It's an amazing story where he was just playing around with people, and that seemed to sort of loosen up China's feeling about the brutality of the fight game, because fighting at that time were, as far as championship fights were concerned, 15 rounds. A lot of the old school boxers will tell you that rounds 12 through 15 were the difference between life and death. So that was something that ultimately led to his Parkinson's disease and his premature passing. But what he was able to do was bring levity, which was his great gift. He could bring levity to any situation. Right. And at the time, we hadn't seen the end of the Cold War per se. There were relationships between the United States and China that were somewhat frigid. And just in his ambassadorial capacity, right, he did as much to export boxing as he did human rights and all of the other many wonderful things that he did to improve the world.
Unfortunately, we'll have to leave it there, but obviously so much we could talk about. We'll be sure to have you back on it. Mark Gray from Heritage Sports Radio. Thank you again.
Thank you.
If you like what you just saw, follow us on social media and visit our website, cctv-america.com.